Welcome back, Purposeful family, to another purposefully packed episode of the Pretty Purposeful Podcast. I'm your host, Angie Melange.
I'm your co-host, Candace.
Y'all, today we have a very heavy conversation that we're going to have, and one that is long overdue. We're going to be talking today about the mixed race experience. And we actually wanted to do this episode last season, and it just, the timing, there was so much going on with the election and so many other topics that were more relevant at the time that we just decided we didn't want to rush it. We just wanted to, allow things to flow organically. So things have, and here we are. So I'm excited to talk about this topic today. But before we get into it, as always, I got to check in with my sis. Sis, what you been up to?
Girl, my plants are growing.
Wow.
Yes.
So how long have they been growing now?
It's been probably 2 months.
That time went so quick, y'all.
It went so fast.
It did.
And when I say, I've already been harvesting. I've already been eating some of the, I don't even think I told you that.
No.
But I placed it on one of I cooked the hamburger. And I used some of the lettuce from my garden for the hamburger, and it was delicious.
That's amazing.
It was so good. No, it was so good, and it was so fresh. And I want to show y'all a video of my plants growing.
Yes. And that it seemed like it was just yesterday.
For
that
real.
You planted them. Yes. And it's just amazing that I've been inspired. So
I'm ready for this.
Y'all, yes. I actually started my own garden.
So proud. I love that. She's going to have so many different vegetables. I'm just like, girl,
yes.
You might.
And the beans are coming up the fastest.
Yes.
I was like, whoa. So I have onions, I have beans, I have tomatoes, I have carrots,
Swiss chard, yeah.
And I think I have peppers. Mm-hmm. I have peppers, and I think parsley.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited, y'all. I mean, hopefully we're inspiring you all. If it doesn't matter if you don't have a yard, if you have a balcony, just something, I want to say sacred. I don't want to be cliche, but it's just when you can just grow your own food, and to me, it feels like empowering. It's like, wow, you don't have to go out to the store and buy these things. You can literally just harvest. And that to me is just, it's very much divine.
It is. It's very divine.
Yeah, we weren't supposed to be capitalizing off of God's creation. It ain't man-made. It's God's creation, and we all have the ability to cultivate it. So,
and what I love about planting and growing your own food is that that's what I mean. Just wait until all of your plants grow. You're gonna be like, it's just so abundant. I don't know what I'm gonna do with all these plants. It's gonna be a lot, and it's just like overflowing, and it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, just to experience the whole life cycle,
yes.
And to know that your intention, your efforts, it is so symbolic. I'm even thinking just the process of it can be symbolic to life and how we plant seeds, and you have to be consistent in watering. You got to be consistent in, hey, we were talking about, what happens when it gets too crowded. I may have to transfer my plants to a larger pot. And that's like life, sometimes life, it can be overwhelming with the things that you have on your plate, but you just got to be flexible and be able to pivot and
move out the pot.
Come on, that's a word. Get out the pot to allow for more growth. That's it.
See,
that's it right there.
Let it ring.
Absolutely. I love that. So the other update I have for you all is that I went back home to Pittsburgh.
Yes.
Girl, it's been a couple years. Like the last time we went home was in 2023 when Michaela was actually looking at schools, and we went up there for her to tour CMU. Mm-hmm. So it was such a short trip that we didn't get a chance to see everybody.
Right.
So I was excited that we got to go back and celebrate her godbrother Jackson graduated. He's getting ready to go off to college. Got to see my family. It was a really great time. I'm glad that I took some extra time off, extended my stay so I can make my rounds.
Congratulations, and I'm so happy that you enjoyed yourself. I'm so happy you enjoyed your family. And girl,
yes,
those are the moments that we really have to cherish. So
absolutely,
I'm so happy. Thank you for sharing that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right, girlie. Well, we're gonna go ahead and move into PPP updates, everybody. So, Candace, do you want to tell everybody about our new initiative?
Yes. So this is something that the Angie Melange, okay, she came to me, it was during one of our production meetings. Mm-hmm. And she was like, Candace, I got an idea. And I was like, what is that, Angie? Mm-hmm. And she was like, I want to do like a community event. And we're going to title this Candy, Condoms, and Combos. I was like, candy, condoms, and combos? What you got up your sleeve, Angie? And so I was like, as she explained it, I was like, oh, this is really cool. This is going to be a different, awesome community initiative. Like, this is going to be awesome. So we went to Impulse Karaoke down in Norcross, Georgia, and we set up shop, set up the tent, everything. Yes, just the two of us. And we set up in the parking lot. We got permission from the managers. We wanted to make sure we were good with the security, the police officers there. And we got the okay, and we went All right.
Yeah.
The video that you're about to see is just a little glimpse of what it was. It got really lit the later it got.
It really did. It was a beautiful thing. Well, you guys, here it is.
Before we go any further, let's be friends. The way we use every day. Most of the time we use it in the wrong way.
Hey, Impulse Karaoke. They gave us the green light.
We got the okay.
Safe sex on a platter.
Wrap it up. Hey.
Wrap it up. Okay. Woo, fish mode.
Do you believe soul ties are real? Why and why not? I believe that I think people confuse with soul ties with unhealthy attachments.
Oh.
I think people say soul ties, or I miss this person, I want to be with them, but I'm like, is it attachment based on trauma, something that you don't want to miss, but something that is not really important? I think people get that really confused. They call it, oh, I be stalking his page, and I can't live without him. I'm like, but really, if you went to the next day and didn't talk to that person, would it really matter? If you didn't sleep with that person for 30 days, would it really count? So I think a lot of people get that confused with soul ties.
We had a blast.
We did. So I'm gonna rewind this a little bit and explain how the idea came about.
Please.
Because I want to give credit where credit is due. And you guys know we recently did an outing in partnership with Teens on Point. So getting back out in the community, that's what my personal goal and mission has always been, to just be involved in the community. Well, I work in healthcare. Some of you may know that I used to actually be a director of operations for a nonprofit here in Atlanta. And many of their programs were centered around STI prevention, HIV prevention testing. And so even that organization used to have an initiative where they had a street team go out and into the community, and especially at night, and actually intentionally reach out to people while they were out partying. They actually had a prevention team. So to me, I feel like this is an extension of my work, just my involvement in the community and just having that knowledge. Like, I'm very passionate about public health, especially the Black community's health. And with the combination of the experience from Teens on Point, and then my background, and then Candace is also very health conscious as well. For those of you who don't know, my sis has it's Health Matters.
Yes.
Everything associated with Miss Candace, you can find her, is going to be associated with health. She's, very health conscious, which is why this initiative worked perfectly. So from our last outing that we did, we had a lot of candy left over. And I'm looking at the candy. I'm eating the candy. I ain't supposed to be eating the candy. But we had these bags, little goodie bags that were already packaged up, and we were giving them out to the youth whenever we did the outing with Teens on Point. So we had a lot of candy left over. And I had a lot of condoms, okay? Because I'm like the condom lady. Like, I be giving condoms out to my friends to give to their kids for them to use themselves, and even sometimes just distribute them, through other means and avenues. But I just had an abundance of condoms because of my previous position. And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but a lot of the nonprofit organizations, when they get condoms through government funding, there are actually metrics and targets that they have to meet in terms of how much they distribute. So while the condoms might be free for the public, it is up to the organization to keep count of how much they're distributing out into the community. So that's the one thing on the back end that a lot of people aren't aware of. But at this point, we're just operating as an outreach. There's no numbers being collected.
We're not selling condoms. We're not selling.
There's just an abundance of condoms sitting around. And other people out there getting busy. So why not spread the love and also raise awareness? The other thing that inspired this was the announcement of the Trump administration.
Yes.
You want to share, sis, what they're doing?
Oh my gosh. Yes. So the Trump administration is now making it to where they're taking out all the facts. I might be saying it wrong, so you're going to have to correct me if I'm saying it wrong, but they're eliminating all the data towards like STIs, STDs, anything sexually transmitted okay, related, they're removing all those factuals, all those facts from the CDC. So they're making it hard for us to even keep up with what exactly is affecting us as a community. And this is a huge issue. Why?
Yeah, because who's impacted by STIs the most?
Voila.
Yeah.
Various public health websites were affected. The Department of Health and Human Services has data that was taken offline, and there were other government websites that have data. But the biggest kind of incredible sort of tidal wave of censorship was at the CDC. And so what I think is crazy here is that it's not. I think the administration imagines that they are dismantling some ideology and some way of thinking, but as a public health worker, as a physician in the front line, what they're doing is they're making it harder for me to be a good doctor.
That to me, I took personal when I heard that. I know that might have went over a lot of people's heads in the media, but that stuck out to me because I did a lot of research using the CDC's website. So when you tell me the information that I've used to study and understand the public's health, we do that so that we can assess the public's health needs. If you take away the data, then that means you're not going to be able to address the needs.
You're just blind. It's almost like you're just walking blind.
Yeah. Well, it no longer is a priority, is what it is.
It's not relevant.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but we have to continue to be, stand in the gap for our people. We have to be the voices. People like myself, people like Candace, who are conscious, health conscious and focused on the things that matter in our community. We have to be the voice, And I hope anybody watching this that works in the healthcare space, if you want to partner with us, if you want to come on and just share your perspective about what's happening, we would love to have you come on. Like I said, I'm not a clinician. I say that all the time, but y'all, because since you were joking one season, I was like, sis, you need to be a doctor. I don't know that I'll ever be a doctor, but I will always advocate for our community. We're going to go ahead and get into this topic, y'all. So as I mentioned, this is a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And so I did want to make sure that I took my time with this episode because I wanted to share my own personal lived experience to kind of open up this conversation, because a lot of times when I share when I share my story with people, a lot of times I hear things like, oh no, I didn't know that was happening, or no, I'm sorry to hear that, or I didn't know that it was like that. And it's just like, where you been all these years? You can go on TikTok and just type in mixed race and you'll see all the nasty, mean things that people have to say about people who have multiple, racial makeup in their identity, their racial identity. So let me just tell you all. So my dad was Puerto Rican and Black. He's deceased now, but my father, his last name is Gonzalez. My grandfather was from Puerto Rico. He met my grandmom back in the 50s. Okay, they got married and had 6 kids. And, I think I may have shared this in maybe season 2. We talked a little bit about my mixed race. But growing up, I identified as a Black person, light-skinned Black girl, right? The difference was my last name was Hispanic. So there was always this conflict with my identity because I didn't speak Spanish. My dad didn't speak Spanish. None of his siblings did. I met my granddad when I was very young, but so young that I couldn't even remember him. We just not raised in Puerto Rican culture. So we functioned and operated like every other Black family. And because my grandma was Black and her side of the family was Black. And, but we did not ignore the fact that we were Puerto Rican. I will say that. You could tell that each of us from our own perspective wanted to be in touch more with that side of our identity. Like we yearned to know about our granddad's, family in Puerto Rico. We yearn to be able to speak Spanish fluently. In fact, one of my cousins actually does speak Spanish fluently, but only because he intentionally learned how to speak Spanish. Shout out to my cousin Jesse. But you know, the rest of us, I think we just never really talked about our experiences as being mixed. So what I'm going to do, guys, I want to just walk you all down a timeline of my life and what some of the experiences I've had just being mixed. So it starts out when I was a little girl. My sister and I have different dads. So she used to tease me and tell me that I was adopted because I had different texture hair than her, I had lighter skin than her, and I had a different last name than her. So probably while I was just, you know, before I even went to school, elementary school, I was just constantly taunted by my own sister and told that I was adopted. I also had a different side of the family, like the Gonzalez's. You know, I would go spend the summer with my grandma and that side of the family, and my sister didn't go with me. So that kind of sometimes even further, you know, confirmed what she was saying, like, okay, I got this whole set of family members that my sister doesn't have anything to do with. But I didn't understand as a little girl, the dynamic was my mom had a baby with a man before my dad and her were married. So that was the first experience. Second experience was in about, I would say, first grade, where people were teasing me, asking me, like, what are you? And I can't remember if it was Black girls or Black boys, or I can't remember. I just remember it was like I was the only person in my school with a Hispanic last name. And there were, you know, Caucasian kids or Black kids. There might even been a little, you know, sprinkle of, you know, Asian, right? Yeah. But there just wasn't a lot of Hispanics in Pittsburgh. And so my last name stuck out like a sore thumb. I was called Speedy Gonzalez. Okay. And then when people would ask me what my nationality was, of course, my dad was trying to make sure I understood why I had this last name. He was trying his best, as little as I was, to try to help me understand what it meant to have that last name. And so I knew that I was Puerto Rican. So when kids would ask me, well, what are you? I would say Puerto Rican, and my R would roll. As a little kid, I thought it was pretty cool to say it that way. But first fight that I ever got in was just on a school bus. The girl pulled my hair. I had the longest hair on the school bus. I probably had the longest hair as far as Black kids or, you know, minorities in the school, other than the white girls that had long hair. I had this long, wavy, thick hair that was just had a life of its own, really. So we're on a school bus and my hair is just doing what it does, big old poofy ponytail. And I kept feeling somebody tugging my hair through the, you know how you sit by the, you know, the windows, and your hair can stick back to the neck. Okay, so girl kept pulling my hair. I didn't know why. So I got mad and turned around and said, quit pulling my hair. And she said something to me. Now, mind you, we were only like in the first grade at this time, second grade. And she was looking for a reason to fight me, because as soon as we got to the bus stop, as soon as I stepped off the bus, this girl punched me.
First grade?
Yes. Yeah. Didn't know why, you know. Now, she never said anything about my race, but I'm just going to say that there was a difference between her and I. You know, I looked different, you know, for whatever reason. Again, she never confirmed why, but I never did anything wrong to her for her to pull my hair. So that was the second situation. And I ended up with a black eye. That was the first time I had a black eye in my life. As a little kid, I got a black eye. And my babysitter, Miss Dump, rest in peace, Miss Hazel McCrae. We called her Miss Dump. She was my first advocate. Now, this is going to get me a little teary-eyed, because Miss Dump was a Southern, you know, she was an older lady who had actually grew up in the South, in the deep South. I can't remember if she was from Louisiana or Mississippi, but she was definitely from down South. And I don't know how she ended up to Pittsburgh or when, but anybody that knows Miss Dump, if you grew up in Arlington Heights, if you're from the South Side, you know who Miss Dump is. She was the icy cup lady. She was our babysitter. And so I went to her house after that happened. And she said, they're jealous of you. I didn't even know what the term jealous meant. And she said, they're jealous because your hair is longer than theirs. and they're jealous because you know, you look, but you're pretty, you know, and this is where that whole pretty thing start coming from, you know. She said, your skin color, you know, there's not a lot of people that look like you, and so they may have been messing with you because of the way that you look. So for the first time in my life, I realized that the way that I look bothered somebody. It bothered someone. So Miss Dump was my first advocate because she was the first person that actually told me that this existed, you know, and to be careful and to, you know, don't let that make me feel, you know, any less than. It wasn't me, you know, I didn't deserve it. So Miss Dump will always have a special place in my heart. She also protected me from the kids in the community. She always, you know, if there ever was anything going on, she was like a protector. So after that situation, you know, throughout my life, again, my sister and I, you know, continue to have a strained relationship, and other people would tell me, you know, it's because your sister's jealous of you. Now, nobody wants to hear that, you know, especially when it's your only, like at the time, my dad didn't have any other kids. My mom only had me and my sister. So you look up to your big sister. You want to feel protected. You want to feel, you know, seen and loved. And my sister was my first bully. And a lot of it was based around, I feel like it was based around the attention that I got that she didn't get from other people. And I couldn't control that. You know, we would be out together, and they start referring to me as the pretty one, and it became a thing. You know, whenever you talk about my mom's children, people would say, who the pretty one? I'm not going to say what people used to call my sister. That's her story. She can share it if she ever wants to. But I would just say that it became a thing that kind of pitted us against one another. And I didn't even know. So she had this built up like jealousy and whatever it was animosity towards me for something I couldn't control. And there's layers to that. There's layers to that because we had different dads. My mom and dad were married. You know, her dad, my mom were not married. Again, that's her story, but I would just say that there's layers to that relationship being straight. Fast forward from the home life, there were situations in, you know, middle school, again, with the last name, you know, again, me being brought up in a home with Black women around me, women who, you know, taught me to be proud of my Black heritage. There was no be proud of being Puerto Rican. Like nobody could identify what does it mean to be a Puerto Rican woman. So I didn't have any reason to like feel like I wasn't a part of the community. Even though I had these encounters, I just still like, I'm Black, I'm just, you know, mixed. And that's another thing, the term mixed, I never came up with that. Other people called me mixed before I ever knew what mixed was. Wow. So I just started like, okay, I guess I'm mixed. I'm gonna hop around because I don't want to spend too much time on my childhood, but I would just say fast forward into the corporate space. You see Gonzalez on a resume, that's a strike. You see me show up and I have braids in my hair and you hear me open my mouth and I speak with a conviction of I know who I am, a Black woman, a Black light-skinned woman, and got some type of stereotype about me already. So I present myself very strong. I know who I am. And then only for someone in corporate to make me question who I am, because the first thing they ask me is, do you speak Spanish? And as soon as I say no, it's like, I either don't get the job because they thought I was a Hispanic that spoke fluent Spanish, or I don't get the job because they don't want another Black woman in their space. Okay, so that's what I dealt with a lot of, and that's just like face-to-face back in the day when you did like face-to-face interviews. Yes. But moving forward, you know, I will say that went on. So whenever me and my first husband, his last name was Islamic, but having that last name, I would sometimes, my last name was hyphenated. I would sometimes take the Gonzalez off and just use his last name. And even though it was Islamic, it worked for me because people no longer assumed that I could speak Spanish, you know? So the resume got through, I got, you know, jobs a little easier. But again, my racial identity would come up in a workspace, even if nobody knew that my my maiden name was Hispanic, Black women would absolutely remind me that I was something different. I was other. So I was othered in the corporate space from Black women first. Then at a time where I actually was going by just my maiden name in the workspace, the Hispanics actually tried to get me fired. I think I might have shared this on one of our previous episodes last season. We were talking about like toxic workplaces or allyship. One of those episodes, I did share about that. And basically this bilingual team was trying to get me fired because they called me a fake Puerto Rican because I didn't speak Spanish and because I absolutely showed up as a Black woman every single day advocating for us. They knew that it's like once corporate, I don't care if it's white people in corporate, any race, once they realize that you are actually pro-Black, it changes the game.
Yeah.
It changes the game. So not only am I getting, this resistance and challenges on one side from people that aren't Black, that might be Hispanic or whatever race, but the Black women specifically, my sisters, whom I love, whom I always advocate for, who I always see and understand the adversities and the barriers and the challenges of being a single mom or growing up poor, or just being Black in America. I never was given credit for that. It was like people would just not even realize that I'm an ally, I would be attacked. So that went on, and I just kind of got to a place where I was like, you know what? I can only just continue to be me. I'm going to continue to be pro-Black. I'm going to continue to advocate for us. And those who want it, those who see me and see the allyship will get it. And those that want to come against me, attack me, I don't want to say karma, but I'm just going to say that, God will take care of them. So fast forward, I moved to Atlanta. Actually, it was during the last Trump administration. And because at that point in time, I was managing a contact center. I was wearing micro braids, okay, in a boardroom with all white women and white men. And I'm the only with a Hispanic last name, but I'm sitting up there with micros in my hair, proudly wearing my micros.
Yes.
Loving representing, my culture.
That's right.
But they didn't want to see somebody with braids sitting in their boardroom. So I knew that there was not going to be any room for me to grow in that organization. So Atlanta, I knew was diverse. I knew that there was a high success rate for Black people and Black women specifically in leadership roles. So I didn't realize, I knew that there was a mixed culture here too. So I'm like, okay, someone like me showing up in Atlanta is not going to be like oh my God, what are you? It's just going to be the norm. And for the most part it was. But when I was working, I'm not going to say what organization it was, but I'll just say I had an experience with a colleague who was light-skinned like me. This individual pretty much called me out in front of everybody in the meeting. She didn't call me out directly, but she spoke to mixed people not being able to speak on behalf of the Black community. And I'm the only mixed person in the room. And I'm also the newest employee at the organization. And this is coming from another light-skinned woman who already knows the challenges that you face as being light-skinned in the Black community, being excluded, being the butt of jokes, being criticized, being overly criticized, assumptions being made about one's personal perception of self. We are often, labeled conceited, think we're better. There's a perceived privilege that comes with lighter skin. And yes, there may be privileges, but a lot of times we don't even know what those privileges are until we experience them. And just as much as there's privileges, there are disadvantages of being light skinned. I digress on that point, but I'll say that this sister, to do that to me, made me feel like, oh my God, This is a light-skinned female that's doing this to me, and she knows what this feels like. So at that point, I said, my blackness is being questioned in a way I never felt before, because it's coming from a light-skinned woman who should be an ally. Just be an ally just because you know what it's like to be light-skinned. Right. And I'm sure that people probably have thought that she was mixed. Mm-hmm. As light-skinned as she was, I'm pretty sure people often question her identity. Mm-hmm. And I felt like she basically, I feel like she was trying to, pit people against me, because I was starting to build relationships with people there organically. Between the two of us, I was the one who actually came from, the same type of community that we were actually serving, people living under the poverty, line, and dealing with, just the things that people that live in poverty deal with. So I was able to relate more to the community that we were serving. And she, on the other hand, was someone who had a privileged life. She was, as she would say, and I'm going to quote, she was an Army brat, and she would often brag about that. So for someone like me who actually could relate more to the Black experience because I've lived it, it was like she felt I felt like she was threatened by my ability to come in as a new person and not just only be mixed, but being mixed and still being able to relate more than her to the actual community. The people there, they respected me. They knew that my communication and interactions with them was organic, whereas hers was probably forced. Yeah. And she probably really didn't understand or get where they were coming from. Me, on the other hand, I'm empowering people because I get it. And again, I don't know why she did what she did. I can only guess. But ultimately, that experience woke me up. It made me realize you can't sit here and be in denial about your actual identity, the people's perceived identity of you. You have to acknowledge the perception of you, even if it is not accurate. You still, I can't sit here and continue to be in denial about it, because then I'm just gonna keep on running into these issues. So ever since that was 2023, ever since then, I've been a very vocal advocate for the mixed race community, still pro-Black, but realizing that mixed race people have a huge disadvantage. If Black people are oppressed, and light-skinned people that are Black are oppressed by other Black people, but now we got light-skinned Black people oppressing people who are mixed. It seems like we are the ones that get oppressed and marginalized the most. Now, you want to add, if someone is mixed and then they're LGBTQ,
oh Jesus,
it goes even further. Okay, it goes even further. Okay, don't be mixed, don't be LGBTQ and have a mental disability or a physical disability. Oh no. These are the people who are the most marginalized and vulnerable and oppressed and need the most advocacy. Need to be seen, need to be heard, need to be empathized with, and they get ignored. We get, we're ignored. Our issues are ignored because people are waiting for us to identify with them, to step up to where they want or expect us to be in their perception in order for them to see us. It's like, no, meet us where we really are. See us just the same that we want white people to see Black people for exactly who we are. Don't be colorblind. I do want to get your perspective, sis, just on what I've shared so far.
I appreciate you sharing everything that you just mentioned. It's something that needs to be heard. I'm happy that we're able to do this episode because I know I spend a lot of time with you, Angie, whether it's on the phone, in person. Y'all, we spend a lot of time together. So we've had many conversations off camera about this very topic. And I know how important it is for you to share your perspective, to share your story. And I'm so grateful that you're doing it because I've learned so much from hearing my sister share her perspective and share her story. And I want to say something that I mentioned to Angie before we even filmed this or before we even started this podcast is, if you have not listened to the very first, before season 2, she started this by herself. She has her whole season 1. I really want you all to listen to every episode in season 1 of the Pretty Purposeful podcast, because you will really understand where she's coming from. She goes in depth, she's more thorough, and you will really understand from her lens. This was just a snapshot. It was just a snapshot. But what you shared in season 1, Angie, it helped me open my eyes to some of the things that, I mean, I even heard other girls say, and even me, I think I grew up with a certain perception of mixed women. Like,
it's unconscious sometimes.
Yes. Yes. This is needed, and I'm grateful we're talking about it.
Well, I just want to say, y'all, like, first of all, thank you, sis. I appreciate your support. I appreciate you always being open to hear me. And I tell you all the time, like, when I talk about this, I get so passionate. And y'all, she's always giving me a safe space. And I'm so grateful for that. And I realize that it's also a learning process for you too. And that's why I just am so transparent with you, because I'm like, if I can get just one more person to hear and to see and to understand, that's one more ally, that's one more voice that can stand in the gap in those moments when things of, just like we need allyship from our, not just our white counterparts, but anyone who is not of the Black race. We need those who have the ability to connect with us, to be that bridge to other, so other people can understand, how they are perceiving people it's not accurate. It's based on their own bias that sometimes it comes just through what you hear when you're growing up in your house.
That's it.
Right?
The music.
Yeah.
The media.
Yep. How it portrays people. And it almost, we see, I mean, how many mixed artists do we have out there that you often see them having to pick a side publicly? Now, I'm going to name one that I admire, I love so dearly, Miss Mariah Carey. I think that she has held the mixed race beautifully because she honors what she knows. It's almost like her story, her life is very congruent in ways to mine in many ways. But with the mixed thing, it's like, this woman is so pro-Black. If y'all don't see that, y'all blind. She advocates in spaces and rooms that maybe the rest of the Black community can't get in. She's a voice, and I'm thankful for artists like Mariah Carey, even Zendaya, her dad is African.
Yes.
And this young lady is out here strong pro-Black. She wears her braids in Hollywood and wants to represent the Black community. That's not to say that there's not another part of their identity that adds to them, but this is what they know.
That's what they know.
And if we could actually want white people and Asian people and Hispanics to advocate for our community, and they're not of our community, then why are we so quick to exclude and push away the very ones who actually know through their own experience what we go through? We are raised in the households that see what's going on in the Black community and how we're treated unfairly, right? So we are the first allies because we are within the community. It's very complex to be mixed in a world that sees Black and white. It's very complex. But there's beauty that lies in that, because when we think about not just the Black diaspora, which if you think about the diaspora, it's very broad and it's a lot of, right?
Yes.
I mean, we got Africans from the continent of Africa, right?
Yes.
Then we have us here in America that are descendants of those who came from Africa, but we also have brothers and sisters in the Caribbean also that were also tied back to, Africa. So it's just that diaspora is beautiful. It's huge.
It's huge.
And so when we think about within the mixed race, within, let's just say, from the Black community, we're a part of that diaspora. We're part of that spectrum. Whether it be the amount of African DNA that's in us or the amount of melanin that you see that is presented, right? Ultimately, we still in there.
Yeah.
We still in there. Now, don't get me, I don't want to get started on the gender talk. We're going to talk about gender talk later.
Yes.
But I say all that to just say that we have to understand that this is not a black and white thing. It is really about embracing all of who is within our community and realizing just how close we are all connected. Yeah.
By you saying that, you reminded me of something that a friend told me. He checked me on being so judgmental, right? So he was like, instead of just assuming that a person is a certain way, just ask why.
Yeah.
Just ask why. Instead of just automatically assuming, okay, because you look like this, talk like this, act like this, you are this.
Yeah.
Dig a little deeper.
Be curious.
That's right.
Yeah.
Before you just put a label on somebody. And the older I get, the more, and I think you've heard me say this too, Angie, the older that I get, the more that I realize that I cannot be matter of fact about a lot of stuff.
Right. I love how you put that. Like, that's a moment of growth. When you have that realization, but it opens up, that type of growth opens up so many more blessings, so many opportunities, experiences, because the opposite of that is like closed-minded. If you just think about a closed mind cannot receive things that are meant, things that are intentionally meant and designed for their growth, for their, edification and their maturation. If you're closing yourself off to that, you're just delaying your progress, you blocking your blessings. And I say this all the time. When I share with Candace, she always tells me I'm dropping bars because I'll just think of a scenario. That I've gone through, and then I'll just be sharing from my heart, and it'll just come out. But it's like an example. I was just saying how, from my experience privately, I don't have issues with people. When it's one-on-one or intimate setting with people of all races, I don't have the discrimination. And I'm pretty sure our black brothers and sisters can relate to that. Where there's certain spaces where you could be around a white person and they're not treating you like crack. Yeah. They're genuine. You genuinely feel a connection. You're like, oh my gosh, this person sees me. That's right. But you get too many more people in the room, and the connection's not there. It now becomes a disconnection on purpose, intentional disconnection. Whereas before, it was the opposite. It was like, they want to connect. They want to connect. They want to get close to you. They want to know about you. They are curious, but they don't want other people to know that they're curious.
And that's the problem.
That's the problem.